Coming up on Serious Joy. Catch the Self-Study Hall replay from last week as Robbie Hunt discusses finding the joy in your journey. Subscribe now to SeriousJoy.com and find out what our leading lecturer has to say. Then, coming up this Wednesday is our monthly welcome party. A cast of star-studded Serious Joy favorites give new subscribers a behind-the-scenes tour of the magic. Coming this Wednesday to SeriousJoy.com.
This week, Lionsgate, the New Age Watergate. Leos and Aries are about to have a makeover and have some celebration, but one sign may go to jail. I'll break it down for all 12 signs on your Namaste today. Hello, welcome to Namaste Today. Heartfelt blessings to you, my friends and cosmic cousins. I am Sensei Christopher Oteki, an astrologer and the Sensei to Serious Joy, and the person that brought to the earth step astrology, which we'll talk about a little bit in a minute. We're in quite a minute, actually, for the galactic world. That's the United States, that is the actual world itself, and that is the aliens outside of us. It's all starting to stir if you don't know. We're becoming cosmic and high dimensional, and the planets are showing those things. Lots of changes basically happening. This is the week of Lionsgate. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it means for you exactly. And we'll talk about changes that are happening, and they're inevitable. We have a lot of changes around the corner, namely even this show. In fact, we've made some changes to this show. We're wondering if you'll catch them and if you'll like them, and would you please comment about them and tell us what you think. That said, we'll go right on to this week's Zodiac headlines. The first headline is, Lionsgate, is it the new Watergate? Well, it may be. Actually, Lionsgate is a little overrated to some degree if you understand the history of Lionsgate and where it comes from. The Lionsgate or Lion's Gate refers to a cosmic event when the star Sirius aligns with the sun, the earth, and the pyramids in Egypt of Giza. And this was celebrated in ancient Egypt as the Wepet Rempet, which is basically New Year's. So they were celebrating New Year's in the middle of the summer for us, around late July to early August, making Sirius's heliacal, rising after a 70-day absence. So Sirius is gone for 70 days, and when it returns, there was a big party, marking Sirius's return and signaling that the Nile would flood eventually, and linked to renewal and goddess Sopet and all sorts of great prosperity, because the Nile was flooding, and that was an awesome thing. Now, this was all actually about 4,500 years ago when this started in the Old Kingdom, which is roughly really 2600 to 2100 BCE, when the Giza pyramids were actually built. So this is the time of their construction. And at that time, with the precession, the Orion's Belt and Sirius were right above the pyramid at that time, symbolizing divine order. The modern Lionsgate portal on August 8th actually stems from New Age interpretations, not at all, because Sirius is now in Cancer. It was in the sign of Leo at the time. So precession of the equinox says it doesn't really happen that way over Egypt. However, our modern cosmic people have said that there's different alignments, and although the Egyptians didn't fix a specific date like August 8th, they also kind of attributed to the same types of things. Prosperity. And in numerology, the 8-8 represents some sort of infinity and prosperity. So modern mystics continue to insist that there's an existing influence there for Lionsgate, and they use different numerological reasons. But I have to say, step astrology actually explains all this. Lionsgate happens on step 16 Leo. Now that is when it nets to a 7, which means it is the one day of the year where your heart is aligned with your fellow people on the earth and also heaven at the same time. It is a heaven and earth alignment according to step 16 Leo. And so no matter what you may believe as far as the beginnings of Lionsgate and what happens, I mean, many cosmic people have said that they have portals they go to. I've seen people online and influencers say that they're going to other dimensions or seeing past lives or having certain cosmic flashbacks. I would say all of those symptoms are up to power and up to speed with what step 16 Leo would mean and how it opens up a specific channel in consciousness every year at that time. So in our soul horoscopes this week, we'll be sure to be talking about actually where it is that Lionsgate will open for you, and we'll get detailed in a way we haven't before. Higher dimension justice, I think that's what's about to happen actually, because Mars this week becomes the super benefactor of an opposition triangulation, which basically means that Mars is going to be in a tug of war with some major players, Saturn and Neptune, energetically. Now with this, and Uranus at the same time. So it's kind of a menage a trois with the heaviest players in the zodiac. What this means for each individual is that your Mars is going to be supercharged. Mars is in Libra when it does this. It's going to be at step 1 Libra. And guess what? It happens on Lionsgate. So there is this thing happening on Lionsgate that just happens to be on Lionsgate. So I don't know. Maybe the Egyptians did have it after all. But what it means for you is that that opposition is going to force you to have to take charge in your life. You will have to determine justice. And this week's horoscopes, we'll talk about where that justice must be served. And we'll probably make fun of each of the signs and how they see justice in the first place. And then our third and last story today, Americans are about to become even more entitled. That's right. That's because when you look at the United States chart, you will see that Jupiter is about to enter into the 8th house. The 8th house does mean transformation, which means one full year of powerful transformation. Now, the United States Sibley chart does make the United States a step 12 Sagittarius rising, which is a Grandmaster Sagittarius rising, which would mean that our personality is all based on our story, true, and that we're always facing that story, true, and sometimes we're really rolling up our sleeves and go to war. True, Jupiter in the 8th house. So energetically, we are about to go through a powerful transformation. Now, when I look at all the 12 signs, and we'll talk about it today in Soul Horoscopes, for each individual, it does come down to opening up your comfort zones in order to come into your power. For the United States, it means that we have to deal with some of our emotional issues. And at the moment, given all the power structures that we have going on, it's really a matter of choosing love or choosing power. In other words, I predict, and so does the show, that for the next year, starting next week after Lionsgate, we're going to be in a bit of a tug of war for power. And some human beings will be basing that on wanting a life they love, and some human beings will be based on thinking they have to fight someone else in order to get it. This is the conflict, I believe, and this is the theme. And again, we'll talk about it for each of you and what it means. But before we talk about your horoscope and what it's going to mean for you, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. Hey friends, welcome back. Well, we are reorchestrating our show just a little bit. One of the things we are doing is making it more centric to the signs. We feel like the signs and their stories are very important because people are reinventing themselves now for the first time in centuries. So we'll be going back to where we started at Soul Garden, where we focus on the signs, and then this information is to help you in each of your signs. Now, this week for all signs, we are in the week of August 2nd to August 8th with the coverage of this show. And we'll be moving from Step 10 Leo to Step 16 Leo, which is on Lionsgate, Step 16 incidentally. Those teen degrees from 10 to 16, those step numbers involve where the teenage part of your heart is wishing and hoping and dreaming. This is where we tend to be a bit let down with things that have disappointed us, at the same time hope for something greater. And it is on Lionsgate, ironically, it's Step 16, where we open up our heart. Step 16 is an opening of the heart, and pray to heaven for something to change or something to come into our life that is more heart-centric. Now, of course, the challenge of this always is that it's the heart versus the ego and the heart versus the mind. And so for an individual struggle, no matter what sign you are, it's about listening to that voice in your heart and giving your heart the last vote, if you will, the final vote, and the heart of who you are. I find it compelling that Sirius is the star involved when it comes to Lionsgate, and this is Sirius Joy here, and we are a part of that. But one thing that Sirius taught the Earthlings in legend is that they did not know how to take care of themselves so that their heart could open. Sirians actually provided a lifestyle and the family unit, it is alleged, that the humans then adopted as their own. So this family unit came not even from our planetary system, but the point was so the heart can bloom. Now, over the course of this week, as you are trying to open your heart and bloom, which I'd say is one of the major things we want to happen, the key question to ask yourself is, what do I want my heart to wish for in my inner life? What does my heart wish for in my inner life? What will that be like? What do I want to feel like every day on the inside? By knowing that clearly how you want to feel and having no idea of how it will happen, that's actually how you put yourself in the position to bring into your life exactly what you want, because the consciousness of the earth is listening to what your heart is beating. And that is part of the power, I think, of Lionsgate as well, that regardless of astrology, every year we be in our heart. So over the course of this week, you'll be working on sticking true to your heart. Now, there are two major void courses where the moon is just flat. These are going to be interesting opportunities because these are really changes of fate. These are voids of fate of what they are. Because during that time, because there's no influence, there's no wind blowing whatsoever, it's the free will of someone who wants to row that may change everything. Someone who speaks up who never has, or someone who doesn't speak up who always does. It's a subtle thing like that in a void course that can change life forever. And so don't be surprised if your heart starts wanting one thing on Monday and by Friday wants something entirely different. Of course, then on Friday, it's the Mars opposing Saturn what I was talking about in the open. We have a huge major aspect where Mars, the planet of ego, or ego consciousness, is going to oppose our control and also oppose Neptune. It's not a direct opposition to Neptune, but it's still within strong orb. All these planets are at step 1. The self-love step number. And on top of that, not only do you have this opposition between Saturn and Mars, which usually indicates war, by the way, in the ancient classic interpretation of astrology, is then trining Uranus off to the side. Now, that brings in a nuclear part of this. Uranus trining in Gemini, meaning that any type of thinking is possible. What this major opposition does is ultimately is what makes Americans feel more entitled, makes everyone feel more entitled. Mars in Libra ultimately is the fighter for justice, the one that wants to have the guilty verdict, for the person who is guilty of the crime. That side of Libra that wants to punish basically is there. And that's what I think may be changing right there. I feel that this cosmic alignment is actually an anti-punishment creator in the sense that you have only been unjust to one person, you, the whole time. And you have punished yourself, which has brought more punishment. And it's the idea of punishment that doesn't exist in the Heaven Convention. It's not in the company of heaven. It is not in the Bible of a heaven and the way it's written up there. There is no such thing as that. Even cause and effect does not involve punishment. So I believe personally that this is going to be an unpunishing tool if you take it that way. And for those who are punishers, it might be the feeling that they have the right to punish. Because if that step 1, the self-love energy of step 1, is bitter and angry and blaming the world for their pain, well, this is where that same transit can turn something into dark. And so this is where I believe the lighter will get lighter and the darker will get darker. And when we come back with our soul horoscopes, we'll talk about which signs those are after this.
Hello, I'm Sanandra, founder of Sichi Organics. We are celebrating our 30th year anniversary as a small business with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. To celebrate our 30-year anniversary, enter code word JOY30 at checkout and you'll receive 30% off any individual Sichi skin and hair care product.
Happy anniversary, Sichi!
Season of Self-Love is just around the corner. Hi, I'm Gwen English, and I'm here to tell you about an exciting new offering at Serious Joy Academy. This year, as a companion to the 40 Days of Self-Love program that Sensei Christopher has gifted to the world, it's a new course called Heart-Speak Oracle, a creative path to self-love. In this course, we will use collage as a way to connect to your heart and get messages from your subconscious, your higher self, and the unseen world about what your heart is wanting to heal and express in each step awareness. I am so excited. Self-love is around the corner. Swing by Serious Joy Academy and find out more. Live, love, be.
Hello, welcome now to the portion people love. It's called Soul Horoscopes, where we get deep on the narrative of each of the 12 signs. And I find this is going to be an excellent moment to actually shift a little bit of our focus here on Soul Horoscopes, which, by the way, is 19 years old, goes 20 next year. We're going to go back more to narrative structure in the sense of really talking about how each sign has a different story in play, because it's starting to get exciting. And I feel like if you understand your story, you'll be able to then see into others. And it means that not every horoscope is going to be the same, by the way. So you may find that your sun sign and your rising sign take a completely different approach in the story I'm telling you. If that's the case, energetically, you will feel resonant with it or you will not. I think you will. So leave some comments and tell us how we did on this. Now, that said, what's going on this week? In essence, we're building the teenage parts of our life and the teenager of us. That's Leo. Leo's our heart. And we're going to be all teen steps are teenager. So you're going to feel like a teenager this week. You're going to want to feel like a teenager no matter who you are. And the story is that your heart and your dreams coming true. But each of the 12 signs has a different place that they want that to happen. Each of the 12 signs is determining whether or not they have love or power to chase after. And power, by the way, is what you go after when you can't find the things your heart wants. When you're searching outside the heart. Everyone wants power because they want power to buy or bring to their heart what they want. It's just a different strategy, but one works better with the universe. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the Cazimi. We're going to talk about Mars going into Libra and what that means for you. And I'll talk about that gnarly thing we have going on Lionsgate, where we have the opposition of Mars and we have Saturn and Neptune. And that said, let's start with, of course, the Aries. Aries, it is an interesting struggle for you right now because you have always been the fighters, of course, the heroes of the Zodiac. And basically, just like Joseph Campbell, you're out of a job. There's no more heroes myth anymore because there's no more heroes. We're all becoming heroes now, basically, and you have to become your own hero. That means you have to reinvent yourself, which you've been doing for a long-ass time. But the Leo is really the heart of the matter, friend. That's where you're going to either chase after your heart or not. The Lionsgate on Friday means that your heart wants to have what it wants, but perhaps you don't know if you can have it because you only know the old tactics. So this is going to be a major situation. Mars in Libra for you does mean that it's now time to treat yourself differently. That's the secret, dude. You have to treat yourself differently. You have to treat yourself like the star, like the poet, like whatever it is, maybe even literally in the background, and give yourself that pampering that you really never needed, frankly, and you've always felt kind of okay being gruff in that regard. Like, you know, Aries will pull up their sleeves and get dirty for the person that they love, etc. Never just for you, though. You wanted the strength, but you didn't necessarily want to have to pamper. It's time to pamper with Mars and Libra energetically. And the sun means that the universe wants to know what your heart wants to create and manifest on the planet. Now, here's the deal. You have a big impact to make with Pluto and Aquarius. A big one. You have not made the impact you're here to make. I think a lot of hero Aries thought it was going to be saving the day, or perhaps being that rescuer to that child or whatnot. But no, that was the old school. That was the old story. That's not Age of Aquarius Aries. You have an impression, and sometimes your best impression is that you do something first. So our advice here this week is this: as you go through the teen degrees, it's time to be honest with what your heart really wants and stop trying to think about how it's going to happen. You have no idea. None of us have any idea. Be willing to co-create with the universe. Be willing to go with what is suggested to you. If it's suggested to you, it was drawn to you by you. There's nothing that comes in your life that you didn't ask for on a subconscious level. And from that perspective, you've got till the end of the week to open up your heart to the truth of what you want, no matter what it does, and no matter how it looks like, and no matter what your character will be seen as. And you may be the little guy or the little girl in the room now that you'd follow with your heart. Maybe that your heart gets what it wants, but you're not number one anymore. Is that something you're willing to trade or barter? Now, when Mars is in Libra, it also means that your relationships that are based on the old hero complex are going to start to fall apart. So you're going to have some conflict there, would not be surprised. And for you, Lionsgate ultimately ties in with that opposition. Mars in Libra opposing Saturn says, if you're going to have what your heart wants, then you've got to make every response to yourself be more loving. You've got to add more love and be disciplined about more love. You've got to listen to the loving side of the thing to do for you, and you have to think about what would be most loving for you. That means you have to disengage with the present in order to do that. And Uranus in Uranus in Gemini is basically saying you cannot assume you know what to say or how to think or the right words. You're going to have to let yourself lead first with the heart. Do not pay attention to what your mind says and keep your mind completely open and treat yourself the best first. Don't expect the outer world to notice. Don't expect the outer world to help. If you kind of go inside yourself and go into an inner focus of just you and giving you what you want, I think you'll have a paradigm shift. I think the Lionsgate portal for you will be that you find yourself in a different world where you don't have to fight for anything. It's just a matter of maybe fighting for which one to do first, all right? Now, remember, with the moon moving through the spaces as it is this week, it's also time to stay detached, not take things personally, and realize that you might be a little triggered at the end of the week. Tauruses. Lionsgate for you has to do with home, family, and comfort, if you don't know. Tauruses are basically royal at home. If you know Taurus, they have their stuff, and damn you if you even touch it, right? That is the surrounding of their comfort. And comfort is usually material. But what Taurus has been learning to do is like melt down that gold and make it into something else, which is pure emotional satisfaction, being able to invest love into your emotional field. That's what allows you to spring up the age of Aquarius, which is going to be your 10th house. You have yet to do your most important work, Taurus, with Pluto just now creeping into Aquarius. And so you need the right foundation to create phenomenal magic. So this Lionsgate for you is your heart and your teenager wishing for the perfect life day to day. Feeling good from the moment you step out of the shower to the moment you step into the car to the moment you step back home after your day. This is time to live that golden life. And that's ultimately what was being celebrated during the warm, glowing season of northern hemisphere of the earth in Leo time. Now, that said, the Mars in Libra means that this means first and foremost, you have got to love yourself when it comes to your body. It looks like the biggest investment is going to have to be in you day to day. That's what you put in your body. I would say at this point, any processed food is foolish. I'll just say right now, we all know this. It's basically, if you look at any nutritionist, it comes down to fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that. It is time. If you really want to be a player in the next world, you're going to have to get back in the gym, get your butt back on the treadmill, whatever that means, and get one with your body, because your body is what grounds you. And that's where there's been a huge injustice in the past. Tauruses have turned their back on their body, me included, and that has been a problem and thrown their life off balance. Now, that Lionsgate turning point where we have a tug of war, Mars in Libra at 1 degree energetically is saying you've got to love yourself first in your body. This will bring faith based on loving yourself and end fears based on loving yourself with Saturn and Neptune. But the trine to Uranus and Gemini means, and this will determine how much you make. That's right, how much you make. You will not make more money if you don't do this, is what I'm saying. It looks like you have got to. The universe has wired this up to where you got to get yourself into shape energetically, get in the moment, become one. Think of it this way. It's time to become a dancing bull. It's time for you to energetically be able to be on your little tippy toes of your hooves. And if you do so with Mars and Libra and all this thing, it looks like you'll be moving on to your personal dreams come this harvest in September. So the more you dream, love, and care for yourself during Leo, the more pregnant that bull is going to be and the more prosperity is going to come. Gemini. Gemini, the interesting thing about this Lionsgate scandal for you is it's in your head. Ironically and strangely enough, you have talked yourself into something, and the universe is saying, I don't know if you included your heart when it came to that. And let me tell you this, something I do with my own son is a Gemini. He may wish for something, but I go, yes, but have you thought about that every day, what that will mean? And that it will involve. It's like a lot of times Geminis just go for that word, that buzzword, that hashtag that's going to be, everything and be able to be their next thing, the next thing on every social media post. But in reality, it's like you haven't thought about what if your heart will enjoy it, if you like being in it, if you like doing it, if you like thinking about it. And that's the biggest thing. If you don't love thinking about it and dreaming about it when you don't have to, you're doing the wrong thing. So it's time to get on the path and listen to your heart's quiet whisper about what it really wants to say, for one. If you've been holding back on someone you love, shame, shame. You need to actually speak up and say that now during Lionsgate, by the way. Tell your heart, speak your heart, because it's going to bring everything that you need to your doorstep. And heart is what it's all about, because Mars now in Libra is calling for you to love yourself like you have never loved yourself before. Again, love is more than an idea. So it's time to act on that love. Try to do for your inner child. That means if your heart says it wants something, you step on it, you do it. The Mars opposition says you're going to find yourself in two camps, all right? You're going to be working for somebody else in a whole lot of world of pain if you don't love yourself a lot more. That's the Saturn opposition to Mars. You're going to find yourself losing your potential of what you can be. You have to be your best cheerleader. You have to be your best caretaker, or it ain't going to happen. The other aspect is, because that trines to Uranus and Gemini, it basically sets the tone for what kind of an intellectual you are. So if you are loving yourself a whole bunch, you'll find yourself in the right place in society. And at the same time, you'll find yourself speaking on a certain level that gets you certain access to the world. Literally, your ability to articulate your heart determines whether or not people hear you. And if they do hear you, you'll get what you want. If you cannot articulate your heart, you'll be seen as something inarticulate as far as people are concerned. I think it'll put you on a different path as far as your ego and where your direction in life is going. So for you, ultimately, Gemini, This week, listen to your heart whenever you think. Listen to everything your heart says or reacts to, how every word makes you feel. Go ahead and create an index if you need to of all the data. Look at all of it and find yourself, a cost-benefit analysis to what words or what direction or what things your heart loves the most. Listen to what other people say. If you hear something and your heart lights up, go in that direction. Use your heart's reaction to your words as the second editor, the second thing, and this will shift you from an intellect that's very fast and speedy to perhaps more of the genius or the profound levels. You're on your way up, but it depends on whether or not you include your heart. Cancers! Cancers, the Lion's Gate for you really has to do with your self-worth. And self-worth for you has been something you always give away. You sell your self-worth, basically. You have Leo in the second house. And so for you to feel valuable, it's always been by giving stuff away. But, even, people who are in, poor countries who see us give stuff away wonder what's wrong with it, right? Because energetically, if it's not protected, if it's not safe, if it's not hard to get at, we think it's worth nothing. If it's very much high, and if we have a lot of supply, then, and no demand, we think of it as nothing. Cancers have been giving themselves away as a high supply, which has made their demand for cancers go down. And so as a result, you've had some broken hearts, you've taken a bit personally, yada, yada, yada. I think for you, the Kazemi moment is that you have to set your price, and you have to do that really, sweaty thing where you put your price out there with your heart, what your heart feels that you deserve, and you have to sit there and hold it. Now, that hold of the heart and what your price is a big part of what I think this Mars conglomeration is going on Friday on the same day as Lionsgate. Because with Mars now in Libra and opposing Saturn in Aries, it means that for you, you're going to have to just champion your emotional well-being first and foremost. You're going to have to be the best mother or father to yourself you've ever been. You have to go way beyond what your parents did, way beyond what anyone else has done, and basically give to your inner child, to your feelings, what you wish people would do for you. This is really what breaking the spell is for you, because your spell was that if you gave it away, people would reciprocate because you assume people were like you. They're not. They're different things. And for you, you have to realize you're the only person that can take care of you on that level anyways. So the big aha moment for you to take back your power, if you start giving yourself the care that you give everyone else from top to ground, and remember, care is an inside job, self-love is an inside job, then that self-love will open up different choices for career and opportunity. You'll literally be offered something different for a job depending on how well you nurture yourself. And with that Uranus and Gemini, that's going to mean you're shifting actually your timelines. So I believe that for Cancers, if you nurture yourself really, really well, you'll be on to future timelines. If you nurture yourself really, really poorly, I think Cancers are going back to kindergarten. You're going to have to go back and learn once again from old timelines about how not caring for yourself first has led you to nothing but unhappiness. This is the big graduation point, and I don't know, I got my money on some Cancers, and some Cancers I'm a little still worried about. I got to be honest. Leos! Happy birthday, Leo. Leos have been really redefining themselves, and it's been fun to watch. In fact, we talked about and joked at Serious Joy that you and Aquarius are trading places. You become the quiet one that's aloof, and the Aquarius won't shut up. But now, energetically, it means also for you with your birthday that it's a new ego coming out. You have a new announcement of the new royalty of what you are. In fact, that's probably a good way to look at it. You're royal not because the earth has made you royal. You're now royal because your heart loves you first, right? Now, you may say, oh, hasn't it always? Not really. That's why you go out for attention all the time, is affirmation that you're lovable. Now, you won't need that affirmation, which will actually make you a bit more powerful. Mars in Libra for you means that it's time to now change the voice in your head. That voice in your head has to have a different kind of push. And instead of pushing you to perform or do well in the world, really push you to be kinder to yourself, take a more loving approach in your own thoughts, and to always be fair to yourself. Ultimately, you have always been unfair to yourself, even though you've demanded it from other people. And as a result, it has twisted your ability to ration very quickly or to have real logic about things. Basically, your logic and reason has always been a little skewed because the game has all been skewed to begin with. The Mars opposition says, hey, if you just start listening to your heart when you talk to yourself and what your heart really feels and getting really genuine and tender inside yourself and being honest with yourself in the mirror, hell, make it a social media post. I'm sure it'll go well. Then you will move forward with a true belief in who you are and be able to do something outstanding on the planet. If, however, that you decide to put yourself down and echo what you heard from your parents or echo what you heard from others as criticism, then you'll find yourself on a path that's more serving of others' vision and not your vision. The Uranus in Gemini trines into this means that frankly, your ability to succeed in the public is going to be determined 100% by this Lionsgate, and secondly, how you respond, your ego responds in your mind. If your ego is this new kind, diplomatic, caring person to yourself that listens to all sides and considers everything, I think you'll find yourself in a very powerful position in the new era. If your mind, however, is still aggressive, trying to prove a point, and won't let go of an old argument, I think you'll find still yourself in the old, bitter conflicts of the world with Uranus in Gemini. Either way, royalty is redefining itself, and it's all based on self-love. So considering you look so good in the role, you might as well self-love and do it. Be kind to your thoughts and to yourself this week. Virgos, you are having an interesting Cazimi because in Lionsgate, this is actually in the house of faith. So I don't think we'll get to see this with most Virgos. Actually, what happens, you have to be really close to Virgo to see it, and even then, you got to ask him and ask him again. It's very deep in your subconscious, and the truth of the matter is that Virgos actually feel special. They feel that they have something that no one else has. They feel like they do something that no one else has. They feel like they have a special relationship with creation and God. And that's the Cazimi moment there. That's the Lionsgate moment, rather, where you open up and you surrender your heart to your higher self and what you feel knows best. And so with Mars moving into Libra and out of your sign, first of all, you can expect a huge energy drop. You might need a couple of days where you sleep more. You can't really get going. That's because your ego energy is no longer on a rush. It's no longer on speed. But the Mars in Libra then suddenly will really change gears for you, because it might make you question your worth in something, how worthy you are. Now, different people question worth in different ways. Virgos, however, usually question it through outside treatment. If they feel like they have not been treated properly according to their standards, then they'll start to feel like they're not being valued. Well, that could not be less than the truth. I mean, the truth of the matter is the only way the people at work will value you is if you value you. And so this powerful moment of change and prosperity for you happens whether or not you respond in a positive way to self-esteem questions or a negative way to self-esteem questions. If you're worried if you have enough and you respond loving and positively to yourself, giving yourself the benefit of doubt with no evidence, absolutely no history of doing it, and totally BSing yourself about whether or not it's possible, seriously, if you just respond positively, the astrology and the oppositions that I was talking about with Saturn and Neptune show that you'll be on an entirely different path when it comes to wealth, abundance, and power over your life. So Virgos are choosing basically power or no power with this particular opposition happening on that day. And with Uranus in Gemini, it also means that it's going to influence your career and legacy. So let me put it even more simple. Right now, because this moment of Lionsgate is opening your heart to who you are with God. If you're so good with God, well, then act like it. Give yourself the credit. Don't expect to have to prove to anybody anything except yourself. The only contest should be with your last version of yourself or your next one. If you can get onto that spiritual path where all you really value is your own greater self and loving yourself on a higher level, you will find yourself, I think, on the power position of the future. Part of the power players, part of the people who make an influence and do something. If, however, you continue to look in the world and blame, employers and blame prices and blame presidents and blame anything outside of you, the other person, the other side, I think you're going to find yourself on the other side of that coin and living the other reality, reliving some of your old karmic issues. So it's a huge moment for you, and it comes down to money. You deserve more, and you know it. That's the last thing I want to say. Libras, this Lionsgate moment for you has to do with something you've been longing for a while. Fame. I think it's time for you to come out of the closet. You want to be popular. You do. You always have wanted to be popular. You've always wanted to be the single and the center. But at the same time, your ego is always telling you not to. That was the problem, your ego. But with Saturn and Neptune now in Aries retrograde, working on your mirage, and now Mars in your sign, Libra, you have the opportunity to reborn or rebirth your ego really this week. Now, the first thing comes from the truth. You got to open your heart by the Lionsgate and really be honest with yourself about what you want. This is not a time to lie or be bashful or try to have false humility. We're not buying it anyways anymore. Everyone sees through that stuff. It's time to really just be honest with yourself anyways and just say, this is what my heart really wants. This is what I wish for. This is what I feel like I'm capable of. And sure, because you have a young and humble ego, you'll probably claim too much power and territory in the first light. But the world will keep you from going too far. The Libras alone will keep you from going too far. So that's not really what's important. Knowing what your heart really wants then gives you the instrument and the message that you need. Because if your heart wants to be, let's say, a leader in government, then you know you have to treat yourself like one. Every time you respond to yourself. And that's the thing. Your ego is used to kicking you under the can or under the bus and taking one for the team, and then you complain when everyone else does it to you also. this is the moment. I'm telling you, for all Libras, I've been coaching you for 19 years. This is your moment out of that codependent, cliche, always the, B player, never in charge, sort of, character in the room or character in the relationship. You can now be an equal or more energetically. And I know some Libras are overcompensated. So that means by loving yourself and doing something for yourself first, literally just practicing what we preach here, you will find that you elevate to a new respect. Now, here's what's going to happen. You will lose a percentage of the people in your life. You will lose a lot of relationships. A lot of people are based on, they want to be friends with you so they can take advantage. Even subconsciously, they don't even realize that's the case. So you have to be willing to fight the fire of not knowing, standing by yourself, the whole 9 yards as Mars goes through Libra. But with that trine into Gemini, okay, that means that you have the potential now to really be an influencer on the planet, to really be a part of the intellect of the planet, to be part of the discussion of the collective consciousness. Librans always been the passive on the side. They've never been the ones leading the charge. And so I feel like the Librans who treat themselves first and take care of themselves first and put relationships behind the ticket of self-love are going to find themselves in the ticket of leadership in the future. Those who don't will play the same old role as a legal aid. Scorpio! Oh, Scorpio, I'm excited to see you. Because I think you're about to do something really fun. The Lion's Gate for you is following your heart when it comes to your career. And I got to tell you, so many Scorpios will pull me aside and tell me what I should do with my business because you're not doing what you want to do with yours. And that's the issue. Now's your chance. The universe is saying this is the chance where you must let your heart lead in every aspect of a career. Now, a lot of Scorpios will tell me, well, they're not where they want to be, or they're not they're working in a place they don't necessarily like, or they're not quite fulfilled. They're kind of filling in pieces of themselves in different places. Still win the game. You want to be able to have what your heart wants in those small choices that when you're in the drive-thru at, McDonald's, if that's where you're at, then make it your choice. You want the ketchup on the left and the mustard on the right, make it your choice. Anywhere you put your heart first, you're going to see the world opening up for you. The universe wants this to happen. Now, you don't have the emotional foundation for this yet. We'll have to work on that through the years with Pluto and Aquarius, but your heart is true. It's not misleading you whatsoever. Now, the Mars and Libra situation has to do with faith. You're now at a point where you have plenty of evidence and you can look at 1,000 different ways at it and see that the world's out to get you. And in most cases, it was. But now, actually, things have changed. Take my word for it. You have to feel for yourself. But you have to get to a point where, regardless of the statistics, the odds, and the history, you've got to judge each moment by what your heart is telling you. If your heart tells you you can have faith in this, then you stand loyally to that faith. When you do that, your lifestyle will begin to change. In fact, faith is going to be the almighty crucible that you have to carry until this Mars transit goes through Libra. When it does, faith in yourself is going to be what saves the day. Then Mars goes into Scorpio, by the way, and it's a reinvention of you. So with this opposition, if you choose to have faith, if you choose what your heart says, and for me to be more literal, it's like if you're afraid this is going to happen, ask your heart, does it feel it's going to happen? If the heart says, no, we're fine, you drop it. All right. Now, Uranus in Gemini says when that happens, something radical begins to happen. You kind of have an insect crusty shell, right? There's two versions of Scorpio. There's Scorpio, there's the eagle. And so if you, in fact, choose what your heart tells you with faith and just go with the heart, and gamble on the heart, you're going to find you go through an incredible transformation. The Scorpio today will not recognize the Scorpio tomorrow. That's because you're more capable of change than any of the other signs because you master the intellect necessary in order to manage the details of the change. You think of everything so that everyone is comfortable, and you will for you too. So the Lion's Gate really is, at the end of the day, do you want what your heart has always dreamed of when it comes to career, legacy, parenting, leadership, issues with dad, whatever those paternal energies are? Does your heart want to succeed in that area? Do you have something to say? Do you have something to share with the earth? If you do, then you're going to have to walk through the woods of uncertainty. And if your heart says it's okay, believe that it's okay and trust it. All right. Sagittarius. My Sagittarius, I'm excited for you. I think you're going to go be really enjoying this trine coming up. First of all, Lion's Gate for you, it has to do with belief structure. So in most cases, you open your heart to a new philosophy. I have been seeing this happen with Sagittarius as of late. You always have one or two of your representatives kind of pop into my life and talk about things. I do believe that for you energetically, it means that you are now willing to look at in your heart a different way of looking at it. Right? Or to go after a different kind of knowledge or wisdom. You may have some sort of big question open up where you want to go study or travel or do, But it's interesting. I don't feel Sagittarius of tomorrow are great travelers of the earth. I believe they're great travelers of dimensions. In fact, the Aquarius energy that's happening for you is helping you just that with Pluto and Aquarius on the opposite side of Leo. Because what you're being encouraged to do is open your mind to other dimensions, other ways of looking at it, other facets. And once you get off that one road track of like it's this way or that way, that opens up the world of unlimited possibilities for adventure. I guess the way you could say it is this: the new world is unexplored. The new reality is unexplored. The new dimensions are unexplored. Who's going to explore those? It's going to be you. It's time for you to go off the end, and it's probably from the seat of your couch. So the Mars opposition for you is pretty important because that opposition, of course, to Aries, to the Aries energy, has to do with your heart getting what it wants. At the end of the day, I don't know what it was, but I think Sagittarius were such travelers. They learned to put see themselves as guests and always put their hosts as first. And so you have always put whoever you're in front of as more important than you, because I think you have a deep subconscious remembrance to past lives where all you did was travel, and if you did the wrong thing, you were dead, right? So it's time to reverse that. You don't have to be the most funny one in the room. Who cares if you're later on time? Like that ego of you having to serve when you go out is false. What it needs to be replaced with is serving your inner child. That your heart is having fun, that you're doing stuff that's exciting and adventure, that you're loving yourself along the way in the whole process. And with Uranus in Gemini, it also means that when you do this, when you approach your heart as the number one thing that gets to be served, right, and not worry about serving the world, then suddenly your love story changes completely. Your approach to partnership changes completely. I think that Sagittarius are going to, if they follow their heart, find themselves on a whole new paradigm when it comes to romance and relationships. And if you don't follow your heart, I find you'll be in a whole new world of pain that you could never have imagined. True that. Sagittarius tied down, nothing more painful. Capricorns. Cappies. I've been watching you very closely lately. Got a few Cappies in my life. I think it's funny when God sends me one, like a roommate, for instance, which I'm literally speaking to, who doesn't watch this show yet. But for you, this is going to be interesting because when I was teasing at the commercial, you're the one that could go to jail. That's right. Because where you have been, see, you have always been a little bit ashamed of what your heart really wants because you judge it. You judge everything. You're a big judge, and that's an issue. Unfortunately, you have to separate judgment from punishment. It's one thing to judge, it's another thing to punish. But you right now are trying to go after what your heart truly wants. And so you have been going after it, playing some sort of game, right? The game of politics, the game of science, whatever game you're in, trying to win that game and outdo that game. And that's always been your strategy, is learn the game, win the game, be the best at the game, buy out the other game, right? Players. God universe isn't working that in this round from now. From this point forward, you have to be after your heart. So, if you're a person that sort of like would, hire the person so you could get to know them and then realize you didn't want to date them, that kind of thing, where you're going through one thing to get to what the heart wants. If you're like not going straight for what your heart wants, straight for it, you're going to find yourself in some trouble, all right? Because the universe is not operating that way. Mars in Libra is saying it's time for you to go out and be a leader in the new world, all right? You have Aquarius in the second house. You're meant to cash in on the new era, all the clean energy, everything. In fact, you're more set to cash in on the new age stuff than you were in the last age of stuff where you're in complete control, the Capricorns. So that's kind of interesting. You're set up for that. But the only way it's going to happen is if you're following what your heart wants. That opposition says you've got to be loving in your emotional field. You've got to be very tender with yourself. You basically have to create an inner nurturer inside yourself that does nothing but baby you all the time. All right? And that's why you're going for willpower anyway. So you could hire people to baby you all the time. That's over now. And those people don't have time. You have to have a robot. Now, if you put your feelings first and you put your heart's desires first and you go ahead and choose the path that is not the most logical, not makes the most money at first, but only is what you want, call it a hobby. If you go after your hobbies for a living, then it looks like you'll find yourself in a very powerful place in the new world. If you do not energetically, then you're going to find yourself in a whole world of pain because ultimately your career and your life, you'll never have your career just like you've lived in the last so many years. You never work hard enough to feel good. Every time you want to feel better, you got to work harder. That dynamic is going to keep breaking down, unfortunately. Now, Uranus in Gemini says the other thing has to happen too. Your body is going to either begin to elevate up to the new chromosomes and elevate up to the new DNA or start breaking down into health issues. You've got a one way or the other kind of thing. If you're chasing after your heart, your body will adapt to all the changes and you'll now go through a metamorphosis of how you live in the body. Most Capricorns I know still eating the same way, still doing the same stubborn things they want when it comes to their body, still not paying attention. Those who follow their heart will have the new regimen. Those who don't follow their heart with Uranus and Gemini says you're going to start having some neurological issues. You're going to start having digestive issues. Things are just getting worse and worse and worse. So you're kind of at a turning point. You either transform and follow your heart, or you might get sick, literally. Aquarius. Aquarius says, I'm excited for you. What's interesting about the Aquarius is they're falling in love. I mean, they've always been in love, but it was private and kind of kinky and maybe in a dark alley. But now it's actually coming out completely. It's now time to let your heart out when it comes to all your relationships. Now, honestly, I don't feel I have to tell you this because I'm seeing it already with the Aquariuses. You were so buttoned up and so starved. I think as soon as Pluto went Aquarius, you had the backbone, you stood up and you did it. You just started opening your heart. But opening your heart in relationships brings a lot more because you are a facilitator of dimensional shift. And what you don't realize just yet is that when your heart is connected in a given situation, you're serving as the crystal. You are the multidimensional being that was brought there. And you're facilitating something on a much grander scale than you ever imagined. You've been so detached and so pulled away from society, you didn't really know. But now it's time to know. And Mars in Libra is a huge key because with Mars in Libra, ultimately what you're realizing is that you have got to love what you believe in yourself. You're realizing that you have to be the Lone Ranger when it comes to belief, that you have to put yourself out on a limb, that you're often going to be in the place where everyone thinks you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because that's who you're here to be and represent that new world. And by the time the world gets it, it will be, an old story. It also means that in your mind, in order to be that person, in order to be the one that goes, I believe you're wrong, and to speak up and to say a new perspective, it means that your mind has got to be a coach on the inside. You got a self-love coach. You got to be there to say positive results to yourself, positive affirmations. Your entire mindset has to be loving yourself like crazy. And what happens when that happens is with the trine to Uranus, this is what gives you the ability to going forward with all of your personal dreams and what your heart wants. You will open up and go down a waterfall of color. I mean, the universe shows that if you go down this path of trusting your heart, responding to your heart, and believing in yourself by default, then you're going to give yourself a Willy Wonka adventure. Because of who you are, you're going to be able to pop into things that we didn't even know existed. I think you're going to be frontiers people when it comes to the world of joy. And I think you're going to sometimes be you're going to be literally paralyzed by the fact that you have so much joy or enjoyment that you've lost control of yourself and lost control of the situation. So being swept up by the situation, this is the new Aquarius, where you can't stop crying, right? And you can't stop laughing because you chose to respond as in believing yourself first, to not doubt that, to love what you believe about yourself and trust what you believe in yourself. That's what the apex of this happens to be. And I think as the lines skate further, I feel that a lot of Aquariuses will be finding significant people. I find that Aquariuses are out there now. The people you're connecting with now, the people you're working with now, people you're networked with now, these are key players to where you're going and where you're growing. And whoever you are as a team and whoever you are as a family, you haven't even seen the mission yet. So all it really counts on is that you're going to have to go ahead and look like that person you've been afraid of looking like, the kook that just believes it because he's a kook. Pisces. Pisces, you are in a place now that I am excited about because this is the juicy part of you. You are very juicy. Did you know that? You feel good to be around when you're in a good mood. People, you just sort of turn into this lubricant for everyone in the room where just things get kind of calm and chill. It's almost like everyone has had a drink when they haven't, when a Pisces walks in. But that's only if you channel love inside your own heart and you live it yourself. And so you have this tendency to tend to go to the dark side of Neptune, where you'll go into these old times and old subconscious places that really don't serve you. Well, you've worked through the karma of all of that. And now with Neptune and also Saturn and Aries, you're realizing that that part of your personality has to be over. It's time to do something else besides sulk in the old past. And what that is it's time to build a fortune, literally. It's time for Pisces to manifest something, to make something happen. It's time. And the only way that's going to happen is if you trust yourself by default. Mars opposing Saturn and Neptune says you've got to just by default trust what your heart tells you. If your heart says it's going to be okay, it's okay. No thinking, no contemplating, no in the past, nothing. Give it a green ticket, yes, all right? If your heart says yes, then say yes. You will not be misguided. And what will happen is over time, all right, your emotional foundation is going to be one of two things. With Uranus in Gemini, your emotional foundation is either going to be something you have commanded to be, or it's going to be something you're constantly responding to. So you thought your first part of your life was sensitive. Well, this next part is either going to be a little dynamically crazy or dynamically sane, all right? And the dynamically sane is based on the fact that, like I just said, you by default trust yourself and what your heart tells you. No bring of the past, no analyzing, nothing. Your heart says do it, then do it. What that does then is then increases your ability to own your value. You'll feel valuable, then you'll attract value. And in that attraction of value with Uranus and Gemini, you're going to raise the foundation of your life by raising your state of mind. So you could say, I'll just leave it with this, that Pisces really are God's mind representative on earth. That's why your fourth house is Gemini. Your ideas about life are so God's ideas about life. You have Leo in the sixth house, which means you're meant to shine like Jesus in the moment and sort of twinkle in the moment. None of that can happen, all right, unless you feel amazing and unless you are responding with trust first. Because as soon as you don't respond with trust first, then you're slipping into the old and you're slipping into the shadow. So you could say that we're counting on Pisces to not fall in their shadow, because when you don't, you shine the light and keep us from falling into ours. No pressure, but I think you can do it. All right, friends, that's all we have for Namaste today and our new direction. We're trying to focus on sun signs, and I hope you're going to have a good week. Every sun sign is going to change your life this week, and if you don't remember your horoscope, remember this. Simply follow your heart. It's all embedded in there, Mars and the heart. And by the way, if you want to learn more about step astrology, we have a class that's available right now. It's called Intro to Step Astrology. It's taught by me. You can still sign up. You can still watch the lectures. And if you do it right now, you'll find your life changes, because this initial course where I record it is rolled out over time so that it's aligned with astrological important dates. So you can find out more at seriousjoy.academy. Until next week, friends, I love you. Live, love, be.
Coming up next week on Serious Joy TV. Join Sensei Christopher and co-host psychic medium Scott Cruz live on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then tune into ASTROMINGLE for a mega astro conversation with guest Natha Perkins of Electra Astrology. The best in enlightened entertainment, only on Serious Joy TV.